Hello, let us continue our discussion on the Whitsun weddings by Philip Larkin. In my previous lectures, I have continued the reading of this particular text. We have mentioned something about the couples. We have mentioned something about Larkin's temperament to the marriage itself. Now, towards the end of this particular text, we will find that how the temperament of the poet will certainly got changed. He says, they watched the landscape. Here, they is actually indicating towards the couples who are sitting within this compartment along with the speaker. They watched the landscape. They were sitting side by side, and Eden went past. What's an Eden? Eden is a theater house, or maybe in the modern sense, it can be classified with a cinema hall. A cooling tower and someone running up to bowl. So from here, you will find that some temperamental changes have to be noticed. Here Larkin says, an Eden went past, a cooling tower. Again, the indications are something different. Eden, theaters, acting, performances, everything is being hinted at. A cooling tower. Now you can find the cooling tower is reciprocal to the typical form of temperature, or maybe the hot, humid climate that is at the first section of this poem. And then he says, a cricket field where a bowler is running up to bowl. Why this particular implication is being incorporated here? You will find that Larkin is indicating towards incompletion. I repeat, Larkin is indicating towards incompletion. He cannot see the bowler is bowling. Rather, he is running to bowl. What does this incompletion is aiming at? Larkin is watching. Larkin is experiencing one particular section of these couples' life. But ultimately, the remaining part of their lives, what is happening to them, these are completely beyond the reading of this poet or poet persona. So this incompletion, therefore, very significant. This is very significant. So an Eden went past, a cooling tower, and someone running up to bowl. And none thought, that means none of us who are sitting here. This is a mere coincidence that we are sitting here. But we are not known to each other. We are not related to each other, rather. And none thought of the others. They would never meet. Actually, this is life, where you will find the matter of chances, matter of coincidences, make you to meet any other personality. But you cannot say that in future you will meet the other person. Think about any train journey. The person who actually sits just beside you, you cannot say that throughout your whole life you will meet that very man in future. It is completely uncertain. Here it has been stated, none thought of the others, they would never meet, or how their lives would all contain this hour. What is the implication? What is the importance of this hour to their lives? But the speaker, who is much more sensitive than those personalities, he is thinking. He says, I thought also of London spread out in the sun. So here also you can find that the perspectives of reading, perspectives of, the differentiations and the postal districts that is being coming in the next line. So I thought of London spread out in the sun, its postal districts packed like squares of wheat. Why such kind of impression is there? Ultimately, you will find that the particular concept of reading is continuing. I am thinking about London is spreading out in the sun. So it is not the lives. Rather, the fragmentation is being aimed at. The fragmentations have been pointed out here. The postal districts, the separation, the discrimination, all these things have been associated with this particular image. I thought of London spread out in the sun, its postal districts packed like squares of wheat, just like the squares of wheat you see, that when it has been kept just for soaking the water from it. Just like that, the postal districts are there. If you try to find the maps of a particular locality, then you will find there are markings, different kinds of markings. One particular postal district is associated or related or maybe separated from others with the help of some linings. Just like that, the lives can be measured with a coffee spoon. T.S. Eliot says that in his love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. The measuring capabilities, the measuring faculties of one's life. This will be discussed where I will go with T.S. Eliot, obviously. So I thought of London spread out in the sun, its postal districts packed like squares of wheat. There we were aimed, and as we raced across, what happens there? Bright knots of rail. You know what is bright knots of rail? Generally, when we come closer to any big junction station, you will find that from different directions the rail lines come to a single place. And there, one particular line, it comes with another line. So the knots of rails are there. Actually, the train is coming towards London. So that's why it says, there we were aimed. And as we raced across bright knots of rail, past standing pullmans, you know, that when you are entering in a big station, just before the station, there are some compartments, or say single compartment trains. These are there. These are called the pullman. A railway coach with sleeping facilities. They're standing there. So past standing pullmans, then again it is coming towards London. So walls of blackened moss. It came close. Is it indicating towards claustrophobia? Is it indicating towards the suffocating conditions the modern, quote unquote, urban people or urbanity facing? In place of the rural background, you will find oxygen. You will find these personalities. You will find these superficialities, but at the same time, they're living at their lives. Or living their lives. But ultimately, when you come closer to the modern life, these are missing. So the walls of blackened moss came close. Is it indicating towards the claustrophobic conditions within the four walls of a city life? Is it indicating towards the poet's temperament, the poet's condition? So everything is being hinted, not clearly stated. So walls of blackened moss came close, and it was nearly done. The journey is nearly done. What is that? This frail traveling coincidence, a very interesting term. It is a coincidence, as I mentioned just now, that it is a coincidence that ultimately we meet other persons in our lives. And ultimately, it is something frail because somehow we do not feel its importance. But ultimately, you do not know that that particular kind of a journey, it gives you the knowledge. It gives you the philosophical knowledge. And with that particular certain kind of philosophy, you don't know that you will live your life in a different way. It is a frail traveling coincidence, but ultimately it can give one the basic impetus of one's life, the philosophy, the philosophical standpoints that can help you to live better in your future days. So this frail traveling coincidence and what it held stood ready to be loosed with all the power that being changed can give. A very significant, interesting, and wonderful lines. So the frail traveling coincidence, what it held, that is actually the relatedness. the speaker of this particular poem and also the couples, they are related to each other. Okay, it might not be possible, it might be possible that there is no particular kind of a relation is there, but ultimately just because the train was moving, just because the life was moving, you could feel a kind of, say, invisible relations between them. And what it held now stood ready to be loosed, with all the power that being changed can give. Change itself has its own power that can provide you the basic impetus. What happens, we slowed again. The train it slowed again. And as the tightened brakes took hold, there swelled a sense of falling. So what happens, when you come to your destination, when you come to, say, your destination, your final station, then there was a sense of falling. The people are running, you see. The people are running to get their destination, to get their buses or maybe the taxis to achieve your destination, your place. And that particular sense of falling is being classified with like an arrow shower. It's very interesting, that very expression that Larkin is using here. Uh, Larkin said that, he himself said, you see, that the arrow shower, the reference, this expression. Larkin said that the arrows fired by the English bowmen in Laurence Olivier's film Henry V gave him the idea of these two lines, that is the last two lines. Dipped in the blood of patriotic fervor, the arrows in Larkin's verse here also serve for Cupid's purpose. How I am coming to that later. Here it says, a sense of falling like an arrow shower sent out of sight, because Larkin cannot perceive what is happening, you see. Somewhere becoming rain. This indication of the rain and shower, Cupid's arrow, procreation rights, all these things to be classified in one single reference. I am coming to that. Here he writes that the arrows, but while Larkin admires the train load of newly married couples, he knows that he cannot join them. Alone in his carriage, sealed behind his window, he is conscious of loss, but appreciative of his singleness. As he prepares to watch the couples disappear, he reminds himself that the arrow shower of love wounds as well as it inspires a man. Arrow shower can suggest a flight of arrows which falls out of sight somewhere in the future. It can be also related with the rain. This particular metaphor of arrows, it extends the image of lives being projected from the present to the future. That it is an image of procreation, therefore, as I mentioned just now. And growth is made clear by the shower rain antithesis, you see, a metaphor. It is the metaphor of fertility. This is the power that being changed can give. The progress towards happiness and fulfillment is undertaken even if its achievement is out of sight. Unforeseeable and uncertain it is. The arrow is something that snatches life, as you know. Where shower, it gives life. This oxymoronic conflict clearly depicts Larkin's tension of mind and leaves a certain optimistic flavor among the ocean of pessimism. The couples are free at last. This journey is for them a moment of transition from past and future. The end of an event has given way to something that survived it. Their journey is incomplete. For although the train may stop in London, their lives, all containing this hour, take off from there. This particular sense of incompleteness is caught even in the description of what they see. The typical incomplete actions that I've been mentioning there regarding the cricketer going up to bowl. Moreover, when the poet thinks of London lying ahead of them, spread out in the sun, its postal districts packed like squares of wheat, the image again suggests fertility, abundance, sustenance. But the poem is not so sentimental as to suggest that these couples will find contentment. Rather, the journey itself is used as a metaphor for time and change. The marriage ceremonies are symbolic expressions of change, a change which has the power to create a future for itself. Just as the train's journey is a succession of different images from one moment to the next. The action of the train slowing toward a stop is a metaphor expressing how a future is unpredictably launched from the present. So, what do you think? The poem is indicating towards something positive or something negative. Ultimately, whenever you will go with this particular poem, you have to answer this particular question, that whether the frail traveling coincidence can provide something positive to the speaker's orientation, whether this particular journey or what is the fundamental temperament of the speaker regarding marriage, what is the significance of the final expression, that is a sense of falling like an arrow shower sent out of sight, somewhere becoming rain. This fertility, the image of procreation, can signify something greater, something better. And ultimately, though the poet or the poet persona is reading the incomplete perspective of life, but how it can assimilate some positive temperament to this overall negative poem. Ultimately, I am not stating that the poem is out and out a negative poem. Rather, you will find the temperamental change of the poet is being indicated towards the end of this particular poem, and it becomes a reading of life in a positive sense, you see. So, stay attached. Hope all these prolonged discussions on the Whitsun weddings will help you certainly in your examination, in understanding the poem, in reading, quote unquote, reading the poem properly, and also in answering your questions in your examinations. Thank you.